Uh, my name is Alex King. I started Crowd Favorite in 2007. My background is as a designer and developer. I was one of the original developers on Wordpress. And that's a big part of what we do at Crowd Favorite. We do large-scale WordPress design and development implementations for companies trying to do interesting things with the platform.
Cool. How long have you been doing that?
I've been working with WordPress personally since 2002, when it was B2 before it was forked and became WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
And started doing WordPress consulting professionally around 2006, 2007. And first hire was in 2007.
Okay, so almost a decade now.
Of WordPress, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
And at what point did you start thinking about yourself in a leadership role, not just thought leadership, but also, hey, I manage a whole bunch of people, and they're following me in battle every day.
It was about the time that people stopped following the way I wanted them to. We got up, it was 2, 3, 4 people. Everyone's just kind of in the trenches working together. And then once we got up around 8 people, I realized that the culture of the team wasn't quite what I thought it should be. Mm-hmm. And I realized that maybe that was because I wasn't doing anything to shepherd it in the direction that I wanted it to go, and started spending a lot more of my energy trying to think about what the team needed to be, what my role in it was, how people would be supporting each other and things like that.
So when you think about culture, was that a once-off effort and now it's kind of set and done, or do you find yourself...
Yeah, I spent a few weeks on it, and that was basically it. It's smooth sailing since then.
How do you keep that ball in rolling, or the momentum going?
Yeah, it's definitely a mindset shift. As sort of a product guy, the way I started thinking about it was basically that the team is my product, and that it working well is, a success from that perspective. So I did a blog post about this actually, where I kind of break it down into sometimes you've got bugs that need fixing, right? Whether it's somebody who's going off in the wrong direction, or maybe even somebody who needs to be let go.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got new features that you add. Sometimes it's by augmenting the capabilities of your existing staff. Sometimes it's by hiring new people with new capabilities. Sometimes it's just that you've got bandwidth problems, and scalability is hard, and you need to add a few extra bodies to make things work better. But definitely the focus on the team and the health of the team has allowed everything else to go much more smoothly.
And do you think that as a leader, the focus on the team that's your job, or do you still have other tactical things that you get involved in every day?
Well, since the merger, my responsibilities have shifted a little bit more towards the technical. I was doing some of that before as well, of course, because that's kind of my background. But I've been able to spend less time thinking about, say, business development or marketing, things like that, and more time just on the team dynamics and technical leadership.
Cool. So when you get to the point where you realize you're in a leadership position, or even if you're starting the company, it requires more than just technical skills, it requires confidence as well. How did you cross that boundary?
Yeah, or lacking in confidence, ignorance works just as well. If you don't know necessarily what you're getting into, you don't know to be afraid of it. I look back at the last 7 years and what I know now about what it means to run a business, and if I had known all of that going in, I don't know if I necessarily would have signed up for it. But you kind of pick it up along the way, and I guess if you do have the confidence that other people do this all the time, this is something that's certainly learnable and doable.
Right.
And you surround yourself with good people that support you.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Where do you get your support and inspiration for your job, for being a leader?
Well, I have friends that are in similar situations. Actually, before we met at Owner Camp, the previous year, I organized a little retreat with two friends. One runs an iOS development shop, one runs a Salesforce consulting shop. We got together for a weekend and just hung out in a hotel and shared stories, and same sort of thing that goes on at Donor Camp. And then I've been involved in the Techstars program here, which has connected me with a number of people that are in similar spaces, and then just friends from years of being in the business, many of whom have risen to positions, in leadership, and being able to trade stories with them.
So there's no formal way to do it, obviously, especially for our somewhat new industry. Beyond those mentorship roles, is there another way you can get the knowledge you need?
I read a ton, read a lot of stuff online. I don't read books as much as I read articles and short to medium form pieces. I find that whatever problem I'm working on, like whatever thing I'm struggling with, I can find inspiration about different ways to approach it from a lot of different things. Recently, I was seeing some people on my team struggling a little bit with that initial inertia to get started on things. And I was playing an iOS game called Flow, where you connect the dots and stuff, and it's just all laid out. And I realized that like the game was reinforcing you just have to start and try and experiment, right? Because if you don't start, the dots are just there; they're not connected. And so if you're open to everything going on around you and you're trying to surround yourself with interesting things, oftentimes solutions can come from places that you don't really expect.
Cool. And when you think about maybe your style or how somebody else would describe your style, what would you say, this is my leadership style?
I would say it's more leadership by example. I think people would say I'm demanding. That there's a certain level of quality and the way we go about doing things that is expected, and if something is not there, we'll do it again, or we'll revise it, or we'll work on it again until we get it there. I think that it's also really important to me that people on the team have enough autonomy that they can do the things that they do best. The way we've structured our project teams, the concept is that you have project manager and you have design resources, back-end resources, and each one of them is kind of the subject matter expert from their discipline. Mm-hmm. And everyone's supposed to work together. It's not the project manager dictating this is what the developers are going to do. The project manager is there to facilitate the project in the coordination with the client, and to champion the client in the room when we're talking about how something's going to be built. And then it's up to the designers and developers to come up with the best solution for how to implement and then solve those problems. And then we have one of the things that's really important to me is that throughout that process, we're identifying new things that we can do to improve on the original ideas and feeding those back to the client. And that discussion is part of that process that in the implementation planning.
So if that's the project level, how would you then describe your approach to planning at the company level?
Well, up until recently, it's been very iterative. We started with a few developers, with me doing some project management without really realizing that's what I was doing. Realized we needed to add some project management, and just sort of added on parts as necessary to keep running efficiently. And then last summer started to get exposed to kind of a larger vision of what a shop like this could be. And the thing that we were seriously lacking in to take that next step was account management and business development. And so I knew that we could stumble our way through it just like we had done everything else. We would make mistakes and learn from them and get better at it and build the skill set internally. But then I had an opportunity to join up with Kareem's team. That was his kind of where his forte was, and it made a lot of sense to just skip those couple of years of fumbling and making mistakes and try to see if we could kind of leapfrog that process by joining together.
So you spoke quite often about some of the mistakes that you've made along the way, and maybe some of the ones you've avoided in the future. Is there one or two that stick out in your mind as really, really big turning points for you, that, or maybe just big learning moments?
Yeah, there've been lots of them. Let's see. Well, when early on, one of the first projects we did, when I think we were about 3 people, we were working for a financial company in New York, and they asked us to build a WordPress theme for them, and we worked on the theme, and packaged it up, and delivered it to them. And they said, "I don't know what to do with this." Zip file, some instructions. And what they were expecting was a staging server where they could review things, provide feedback, et cetera, et cetera. And we had been working largely within people in the WordPress community that were accustomed to passing code bundles back and forth, applying them themselves. And that really opened my eyes to, okay, if I'm going to be working with clients outside of this space, I need to have a much better understanding of what their expectations are going in so that I can meet those and hopefully exceed them, and they have a better experience working with us. So that was a early light bulb.
So now a big transition is happening at Crowd Favorite. You guys have essentially merged with Kareem's group. What's that like, and any scary stories or exciting stories to tell about that?
It's very early on still. I think that we've bitten off a lot. We've my team, which is now the Denver office of Crowd Favorite, is merging with his team where there are multiple offices. So we're learning how to work remotely better. We also at the same time rolled in a 2-person company that was also remote. So it was really kind of 3 sets of best practices coming together. So that's just a human problem of figuring out, these things are the things that are most important to us, and this is how we want to go about doing X, Y, and Z. So there's also been a certain amount of hesitancy that comes out of that, because now all of a sudden people aren't confident that they know the right way to do X, where X used to be very, very clearly defined. So we're working with everyone to try to get back to a more efficient state where people say, "Oh yes, I know X, I can just go and do it." We're also creating a separate division within the company to allow us to work more efficiently with ongoing, more retainer-based clients versus project clients that are, have some large investment or a large project that we're taking on, and that's really helping reduce some of the load on our project managers and things like that. But at the same time, it's one more moving piece as we're trying to put all this stuff together. So I'd say trying to do all of it at once has been a little bit of a challenge, but I feel like all of the moves that we're making are the right moves. It's just a matter of getting through this initial kind of pain process.
Just starting the flow of the dots, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You obviously are now a distributed company, but you still have these physical spaces. What is your perspective on remote versus having a physical office? Do you lean either way? Do you think it's important?
I think that physical offices can support developer growth more directly than remote environments can.
In terms of knowledge transfer.
Yeah, it's just much lower friction. Somebody can say, "Hey, I'm having trouble with this," and two people can turn around and huddle around the desk, and it's right there. I found that, I'm still learning as part of this process, but I found that there are people that I need to coordinate with remotely, and I need to be much more intentional about reaching out to them and getting them on video and talking with them. Whereas if I just come into the office, I feel much more casually connected to all the people that I'm looking at and bumping into on the way to the kitchen, things like that.
Now, growing a business and certainly merging a business is quite stressful. How do you deal with stress? How do you relieve your stress?
I try to make sure that I divest myself of responsibility as much as possible. Having people that you really trust to take care of stuff, I think, is the biggest thing. Not feeling like you're doing it all by yourself, and then get out on the golf course every once in a while.
And in terms of talent, now that you are growing and you're going to be looking for additional features to your product, which could be a lot more people, how are you going to do that? How are you going to find them and create the opportunities for those folks?
Yeah, we've actually been talking about that over the last couple of days. One of the things I've done is write a semi-lengthy document about how I've historically gone through the vetting process of candidates, to try to share that with the people that are going to be sharing that responsibility going forward. We also have talked a little bit more about tailoring our job postings to make them more specific to the types of responsibilities and goals people will have in those roles, to try to help people self-select out if it's not a good fit for what they want. And then also trying to make hiring more of an ongoing process rather than something that we do just whenever there's a need. So I think that those three things are what we're going to be trying, and hopefully we'll be successful with them.
Cool. And then final question. What's on your mind as the next thing that Alex needs to learn? What's the most important arrow in your quiver that you need to add?
That's a good question. I don't have an excellent answer for it off the top of my head.
It might be one thing.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that I know I need to do a better job of is making sure that when I'm communicating something that people are hearing enough of what I'm trying to say that there's not a lot of ambiguity, and that I figure out a better way of identifying when I have left too much ambiguity, so that I can kind of close the loop with those people and make sure that they don't feel like they've been asked to go do something with only half the information they need.
Okay. Alex, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.